Hi there, John Florez with my new studious look. More intellectual, more insightful, incisive. No, but here we go, 2021. Probably the only video I'm going to post this year, but who knows. What I've never covered and never really thought you'd be interested in, and maybe you won't be, is the sentence that I used when I kicked off my Diary of a Record Producer video series. And that was, I started in Arizona, I played in a band, and I did some local productions, and then RCA discovered me. In fact, Richard Ireland, the psychic on the TV show, the Johnny Carson TV show, told me 6 months in advance that I'd be working for a major label, and yet I was a student, I was a senior at Arizona State University when he said that. But I've never covered the past and never shown excerpts of the past. So here we go. For better or worse, here we go. This is how it all began. Let's start back in Michigan in the late 50s. And believe it or not, I played trumpet in the grade school band and in the middle school band. I even marched at the University of Michigan's Band Day parade playing trumpet. Go figure. But then when I switched to guitar, acoustic guitar, and took lessons, I know my band director wasn't very happy, but to me, trumpet, boring, guitar, not boring. So I started, and then I got my heart set on having, let's just say having me, one of those really rare at the time, cream-colored Fender Jazzmaster guitars, electric guitars. And I wanted to create a band. How unique, huh? Well, that's what I did, but my bus driver from Judson at the time drove me home last of everybody on the bus. He said, "I'm doing this on purpose, John, so that you will appreciate your new electric guitar even more." And at the time, I was a little pissed off, but in retrospect, yeah, it did make me appreciate it, and maybe a bit more. So, lesson well learned. At that point, Howard Muzzy, my friend since almost the crib, from preschool or I don't know, way back, and a drummer at his high school, which was Camelback High, Byron Metcalf. Howard, Byron, and I formed a group in Phoenix called the Ferraris, and we were a surf band. Now, get this. Byron went on to play for Waylon Jennings for years, Dottie West, many others. He actually married Dottie West. And now he's in Sedona doing marvelous work, doing all kinds of percussive recording, holistic healing sounds, teaching, stuff like that. But in our day, with our surf band, we used to even have an extra chair sitting by the drummer's kit. That's their set of drums. And all the girls would come up and sit next to Byron because they thought he was hot. The drummer's always hot. The guitar player in those days didn't get the girl. The drummer did. So there was an endless procession of girls coming to sit next to Byron, who was really kind of like an Elvis look in those days. Very, very, very attractive. Anyway, we were a surf band, and we practiced in Howard's garage. Here's a bit of what that sounded like. Here you go. So it's 1962 now, and I'm at Arcadia High School, moving from Judson to Arcadia. And I see a band at the Arcadia Talent Show called the Ferndocks. And the Ferndocks was a name coined by Steve Allen on his television show, and I thought it was kind of a silly name. But the original Ferndocks had, wait for it, an accordion player playing lead. And I thought, wait a minute, What they really need is a guitar player. So I went up and introduced myself after their performance at the talent show, and I said, want to consider having a guitar player? And the last thing that I would ever think is, well, they fired the accordion player, Armin Britten, I think was his name, and put me in his place. And from that point on, this was the new Ferndocks. So at the time, we had a singer, a lead woman singer by the name of Carol Strami. And Carol Strami went on to sing with the New Christy Minstrels in those days and others. Really wonderfully warm, beautiful, sensuous voice. So the first time I ever entered a recording studio, other than Howard Muzzie's garage, a real recording studio, that was Audio Recorders, and that was in a record store in those days. And they sold records, and they had a recording studio in the back. An Arizona Music Hall of Fame engineer, now Jack Miller, was the engineer. And we took the Ferndocks in to record, and we took Carol Strami in, and she sang a beautiful song that she wrote, and she sang it just gorgeously. Here's an excerpt of Carol Strami, 1963, Come With Me. Here you go.
Come with me, let me hold your hand. You're the boy that I think is grand, you know I love you. Come with me.
After that, we started rehearsing at my house, and the band would be in my mother's living room, and Carol Strami and Frank Smith, the sax player, vocalist, saxophonist, were in my mother's bathroom at the other end of the house, so there wouldn't be, quote, leakage, unquote. So we would rehearse songs, and here's an excerpt of a kind of silly rehearsal that got out of hand, and you can hear the ad-libs and all the nonsense that went on as young teenagers rehearsing a new Carol Strami song that she wrote. This is I've Decided I'm Through with Boys. And the ongoing commentary after the clip is Johnny Guthrie making the usual jokes that he would always make to lighten us up. Here you go, Carol Strami, I've Decided I'm Through with Boys.
Well, I've decided I'm through with boys and all the trouble they bring. I've decided I'm through with boys. I've had my very last fling. Had my very last fling. And you know what that means, John. Woo.
Amplified out here, you know, we can hear everything you say. And you know, we can hear you laughing too. You know what else? We know what's going on back there. But just don't be a talker. Judge not that ye be.
Oh, he's gonna think that was me.
Yourself, ye. Be judged yourself, judge not.
I shall turn the other cheek. Which cheek?
Okay, let's move on. Same year, 1963, we rehearsed as a group for the talent show that I had seen them in the year before, and Carol Strami and a couple of other girls, women, girls, whatever Carol Strami and a couple other girls decided to sing the lead on Duane Eddy's Guitar Man. And that's something I could do. I could do as a guitarist, I could do surf guitar like you heard with the Ferraris, kind of Dick Dale double pick stuff. I could do the Ventures, and I could do Duane Eddy. So here is a rehearsal for the talent show at Arcadia High School of Duane Eddy's Guitar Man with Carol Strami leading the girl singers. Here you go.
Hey, everybody, come along if you can. We're gonna take a ride uptown and listen to the guitar man. And we're gonna dance. Yeah, dance. Come on and dance. Dance to the guitar man. Here he comes now.
in 1966, we decided we wanted a funkier sound. No, the Beatles had come in, and boy, did I struggle with that, because no longer was surf music very popular, and that was what I was best at. And there were a lot more chords that I didn't know how to play, and they had to teach me, other people had to teach me how to play more complicated chords than, say, 3 or 4 chord songs. But we decided we wanted to go funkier, so we added organ, another sax, same player, Wally Yan, fabulous musician. And here's the kind of horn sound we were going for. This is in a rehearsal. Here was our new, from surf band to funky horn group. Just a brief excerpt. Here you go. Then in 1967, the most amazing thing happened. Floyd Ramsey, the owner of Audio Recorders of Arizona, that became Audio Video Recorders of Arizona. Floyd had moved his operation across the street from the old record store into this beautiful state-of-the-art facility. Oh my goodness, it was beautiful. And he wanted his son, Tim Ramsey, to learn how to be an audio engineer. And our band could be the project that Tim began learning how to engineer on. So for, I think it was $15 an hour, we could record as much as we wanted, and Tim could learn as much as he wanted. So we went into the studio, and Dave Drury joined us. He was from the Counterpoints, and he sang On Broadway, and it was just beautiful. However, I had trouble with the guitar part. So as we started recording it, the guys in the band said, "Hey, John, you're kind of not cutting it on this. Why don't you go sit in with Tim in the control room on the other side of the glass and sit this one out? We got this covered." I went into the control room, sat next to Tim, and had one of those light bulb epiphany moments. And it was, oh my God, this is where I belong. I belong in the producer's chair. I had no idea there even was such a thing at the time. I just knew I was home. So the cut that we did was Dave Drury singing On Broadway with our group, Ferndocks, which was now renamed the Afterglows to sound a little more mellow for our horn sound. And this particular production, which is actually my first production, this was the local record of the week on a radio station in Phoenix, KRIZ. So here's a bit of Dave Drury and the Afterglows with On Broadway.
They say the neon lights are bright on Broadway. You're walking down the street and you ain't had enough to eat. The glitter rubs right off and you're nowhere. They say the girls are something else.
So let's move on to later on in 1967 and early 1968. I had a very, very talented singer, fraternity brother, Dave Leahy. And I wanted Dave to sing on some of our productions. So I'd have Johnny Guthrie and the band back him up and sing some pop tunes, one of which is almost embarrassing, but it sounds pretty good, even though the song isn't, is called Julie. I wrote that one. And the other one was Don't Ask for More, which had been a hit with a local artist on Phoenix radio. So here's what we sounded like on my productions, I would call them Production 2 and Production 3 on Dave Leahy. The interesting thing you will hear is that Dave is singing all the parts, multiple lead harmonies, multiple background harmonies. Here you go, here are those two cuts.
I saw my girl today. And all she wanted to say, she told me she saw me with listen to thee. Hey, 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 hey. Ah, she told me, she saw me into your love. I can't say these warning words today because I've lost everything the other way, and so take care. Only wish for your true share. Don't ask for more.
By the way, the arranger of the first track, Julie, is Jim Miller, who ended up with a multi-decade career with a group called the Gringos. And the second cut, Don't Ask for More, was arranged by Steve Foreman, who became a world-famous percussionist, educator, movie soundtrack composer, all kinds of stuff. What a brilliant man. He arranged Don't Ask for More. Still in early 1978, when the word got out that I was producing things and also coming out of pocket to produce them, people wanted to kind of sign up. So Ray Cork and I flew to California with a group called Stan Devereaux and the Trendsetters, and Stan was a top act in Phoenix. And so we went to California, we recorded this cut called Merry-Go-Round, and here is an excerpt of that. Let's call this production number 4.
Round and around this merry-go-round, you take me up and then you let me down. You act so strange from a day to day. You hurt my heart and then you run away. Round and around my heart will...
So, still in 1968, one of my closest friends at college was Phil Mata, who would become a DJ at KRIZ Radio and then a very successful advertising executive. But he had one of the most popular bands in town, certainly the band with the most airplay over a period of 2 or 3 years, called Peanut Butter. So it was Phil Mata and Peanut Butter. And Phil asked me to go in with Ray Cork and produce a cut for him on a Cat Stevens song called Kitty. So here you go. This is production number 5 of my budding music career, such as it was, because I was still a student at ASU and just having fun with my friends in the studio. I didn't know where it was going to lead, other than I felt good about it and I thought it might go somewhere and maybe a production gig, but who knew? So here is Ray Cork's beautiful arrangement with Phil Mata's group Peanut Butter singing the Cat Stevens song Kitty. Here you go.
When my little kitty gets out, there's gonna be a party. I'll be laughing, yeah, way out of my head. When my little kitty gets out, there's gonna be a party, no doubt. When my little kitty gets out.
Okay, so one of the last things I recorded in 1968 is one of my favorite records that I've produced of all time. That includes Johnny Mathis, Fifth Dimension, Helen Reddy, Free of Pain, Friends of Distinction, Hughesco, all of that stuff. This is one of my favorite records ever due to the fabulous vocal performance by a Las Vegas entertainer at the time who was performing in Phoenix, Ronnie David, fabulous vocalist pianist, and Ray Cork's arrangement of a song that my brother co-wrote with one of his college buddies decades before. We did it with Phoenix Symphony Players, and it is, I think, just lovely. So I'm going to let it stand all by itself, no further commentary, and that's going to wrap up the early years. As Chicago once said, only the beginning. That's the way this was for me. It was just the beginning. Thanks for watching. You guys take care. Bye-bye.
fine day, the day will come. All at once there she'll be standing here close to me one fine day. The day will come. She will come young and smiling out of some distant land, bearing love in her arms and heaven in her hand. All at once there she'll be standing here close to me one fine day. The day will come at a time when I was small, just a few illusions tall, sitting there upon my father's knee. Oh, I dreamed of heroes bold, clad in armor of gold, and that is all I wanted to see. But now that I'm growing old and smart, I found this dream within my heart. She will come young and smiling out of some distant land, bearing love in her arms and heaven in her hand. All at once there she'll be standing here close to me one fine day, the day